came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, we love you know. We came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, the sports show.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah,
I'm from the Bronx. That's how we say hello, right?
Yeah, the first guest on here who got it off the rip. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Yerrr Sports Show. It is your boy Big Baby, aka the Soul R&B, and we have to my far right the Queen Tay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I like the mug. I thought you were giving some free publicity to somebody with the mug.
This is the Hamilton mug. It's my daughter's mug.
Skylar sisters right there.
Yeah, Skylar sisters.
Also, buy our merch. We sell mugs too. So, we have a special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Honored to be on the show. My name is Peter Rosado. People in New York, New Jersey might know me as the lead play-by-play commentator for Brii Combination Wrestling. I've been with them for 5 years. I've been around the wrestling scene this will be my 8th year in the pro wrestling scene. So just honored to join the show. I knew Dre when you started this. Mm-hmm. I remember shooting you a message like one day.
Yeah.
One day we got to get on together. And it took like 1,000 episodes and 4 Emmy nominations for y'all. But here I am finally. Right. Here I am.
We almost got the Emmy nomination for sure. We're almost there. Man, we'll make it. We'll definitely make it happen. When we make it on TV.
The last thing y'all want is Wilkins and Janelle walking down the red carpet for the Emmys because they will be the top story on every news outlet.
Right. Oh my Lord, that's gonna be funny. You see Wilkins like black too. He'd be like, yeah. That'd be funny. That'd be so funny.
So I'm the host. I'm just trying to get through here.
Right. I'm not. What's up, ladies? Hey. Let me stop.
Terrible.
But again, welcome back to another episode of the Yerrr Sports Show. This is episode 31. I would say the player that this episode is represented by, but Tavia doesn't like that player, so I'm not.
Who, Reggie Miller?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what's funny though? Reggie got something in common with somebody we gonna talk about later on in the show.
Oh. Okay.
Reggie was the king of making teams choke, and we know what happened.
Oh, another former Indiana Pacers. Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
My God.
Right. We'll definitely speak about that when we get to the NBA. We got some NFL news. We'll definitely talk some wrestling with Peter. But Peter, again, tell people about yourself. How did you start in just broadcasting? Because you lead commentator and you also do talent for them, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, I used to do talent. Now I'm just strictly doing commentary. Kind of shifted off a little bit. Just I needed a little bit more time. It's a stressful job doing talent relations. I mean, I think a lot of people don't really understand what goes into that. So like that job that Jim Ross and John Laurinaitis and even to a degree Mark Carrano and them have in WWE and stuff like that. Obviously on the independent wrestling level, it's not to the same magnitude, but it can be very stressful. Making sure that we have talent for the show, making sure you're putting together the right matches, making sure your roster is where you needs to be. Injuries happen. So, we've had I remember I think it was 2 years ago, right before Shelton Benjamin returned to the WWE, we had a main event match set up with Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis was supposed to come and be part of the show. It was called World War 360.
Okay.
And Nick Aldis, Magnus at the time, was the main event attraction. And I believe, I don't know if he had an injury or there was a contract situation where he had to pull out last minute. And it was something completely professional, but he had to pull out, I think it was about a week or 2 weeks before the show.
Right.
And I call it an Easter miracle between myself and the owner of Brii Combination Wrestling, Mr. Anthony Cole. We were able to figure something out, and it fell into Mr. Anthony Cole's lap where we ended up getting Shelton Benjamin. right?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Now, granted, I would have loved to have had a month to promote Shelton Benjamin, right? We only
Of
had, like,
course.
I think 2 weeks to promote Shelton Benjamin, but it can be a very stressful job. When it comes to broadcasting, though, that was like my dream. So grew up a big sports fan, grew up a huge wrestling fan. My biggest inspiration in pro wrestling was Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby was my guy. And then obviously, so Bobby and Gorilla, straight off the rip, my favorite commentary team of all time, right?
Right.
Then obviously watching WCW, I was a WCW head growing up. So watching Mike Tenay and Tony Schiavone and all of them in WCW really kept it going. When I went to college, originally I thought I was going to be a lawyer, but I was a huge sports radio guy. Like, I still to this day listen, well, not anymore because I'm not a big fan of the new show, but up until about a couple of months ago, I would listen to Mike and Mike in the morning, or what was Trey Wingo and Mike Golick in the morning, every morning. Because I used to drive, I work as a school teacher. So when I drive to work, 7 in the morning, I'm listening to Mike and Mike in the morning on ESPN radio.
Right.
So when I was in school, I would do like radio stuff. I had a 3-hour radio show 3 days a week on a John Jay radio station back when I was at John Jay.
Nice.
Okay.
We patterned it a little bit after like Mike and Mike and PTI, which were like my two favorite sports shows.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Michael Wilbon fan. I honestly think if I met that man, I would cry.
Michael Wilbon is dope. He's definitely dope.
When we talk about like Black presence on television in terms of like being at high levels of like news reporting and sports reporting, Wilbon's like the man.
And unfortunately, we don't speak enough about Michael Wilbon. You always hear Stephen A. You don't hear enough about Michael Wilbon for sure.
And I'll be honest, if there was no Michael Wilbon on PTI doing what he did every single day from 5:30 to 6 o'clock with Tony Kornheiser, there would be no Stephen A. Smith.
Exactly.
Agree. I agree.
So I did that, and then I transferred to Syracuse, went to Syracuse University, and did a couple of radio stuff up there. It was a little bit different, a lot more competitive up there because of the Newhouse School of Journalism up there. And then just kind of fell off. I mean, I studied to be a teacher. I'm a middle school teacher by day. You know, that's my shoot profession. And so, yeah, I took the Matt Stryker route into wrestling, right? Teaching and then wrestling. And then, you know, like I said, radio really died down for me. Really just watching it, watching sports and, you know, getting that feeling, and then doing wrestling commentary was my thing. So, and, you know, people have told me like, you should have a sports podcast, you should have this. And I'm like, you know, I got too many friends that do this stuff that I don't want to be one of those people that compete against them. I don't want to have to be like having that conversation in my head. I'm like, how do I beat this podcast and get more viewers than them or more listeners than them? Like, I don't like that rat race. And so part of me is content sitting back, maybe one day when I'm old and gray. But you know, it's for now, I'm happy just being here right now on the Yerrr Sports Show. That's, to me, these are those moments that I live for now.
Definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Yes. So, what else? What did I want to ask you? Did you have any aspirations about getting in the ring at any point in time?
Yes, I think everybody who was into wrestling had that aspiration at one point. So true story, I came back from Syracuse. I took about a year off, and then I decided to go to grad school, right? So I went to grad school to get my master's degree. And at the same time, it's when I was like, you know what, if I want to get into wrestling, this is my chance. And I actually went to an open house for what at the time was PWS. It became WrestlePro, which is now WrestlePro out in New Jersey. But they were formerly aligned with a company called Pro Wrestling Syndicate, and that's how they promoted their shows. And so I went to an open house there, led by Pat Buck, Dan Moff, Kevin Matthews, and a lot of their students at the time, which we've seen now, the Heavenly Bodies. You know, the Heavenly Bodies were there. Sean Donovan, Bobby Wayward, like all of the Anthony Bowens, like they were still training there, but they were like still on the come up. And I had met a lot of them because I had gone to a lot of their shows. Like I would always go to Rahway to go to PWS shows. And I would like buy a front row ticket to take photos. Like that's how I was trying to break into the business, was through photography.
Oh, you're trying to go the Paul Heyman route.
I literally did the Paul Heyman route. Like I started by going to indie shows and helping out. and then doing photography from behind the railing. And then eventually a company gave me a chance to do photography in ringside, which I did for a couple of shows. And then a friend of mine helped me get into commentary.
Right.
So we did a whole bunch of things. So I went to Wrestle Pro for this open house, and I had to turn away from it, not because I didn't want to do it, but because I legitimately, realistically looked at my schedule and I was just like, okay, wrestling training is on these days.
Right.
I have classes on these same days. I can probably come to training once a week if I'm being honest.
Right.
Do I want to be that guy? Do I want to be that guy that comes to wrestling training once a week, gets a half-ass training, gets out there to be good enough to get bookings, and then takes bookings away from other people, or makes my school look bad, or doesn't look great in the ring? And I decided that I didn't want to be that wrestler. We have enough of those in wrestling.
Yes, I agree.
And I have too much respect for anything that I love like that. Same thing with when I was in high school, when I was on a baseball team. I made the team my freshman year, my sophomore year, my junior year. I cut myself my freshman year, my sophomore year, my junior year. And my coach was like, when I came back my senior year for tryouts, he's like, if you're not going to take the team after I put you on the roster, why are you coming to tryouts?
Right.
And I'm like, I just want to be sure that I can still do it. But my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I couldn't play. Right. It was, to me, it was like I had a job after school. Like I said, I grew up in the Bronx, had to help my mom with bills and everything. So a lot of it was, you're good enough. Just come to practice once a week, come to the games. I'm like, that's not fair. That's not fair to everybody who has to be at practice every day, who has to work for this. Like, give it to somebody who deserves it. So I turned it down. And the same thing I did with wrestling. I kind of turned down myself the idea of getting in the ring. I did roll around. I did bump. I've done some training. So like if I needed to get into the ring, I can. I'm not going to have no 5-star match, but it was something that I wanted to do, but I knew I couldn't do. Not just because of time.
Yeah. I felt when you said about, giving the spot to somebody who'd earned it. I've been playing basketball for a long time. I played on a team consistently. Maybe let's say for about 7 years outside of not including high school. And I had to earn my spot, of course, but there were times where I would be at practice and I'd see somebody working a little bit harder, just not getting the same amount of, clock. And I remember being that person working hard and not getting the same clock, and somebody paying it forward to me, be like, hey, Big Baby is working his ass off. I'm pretty much half-assing it. You need to put him on the floor. Same thing with what I did. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of here just to be here. But the guy over here next to me is pretty much, he's pushing, he's trying, he's really working to be here. I've been here for a while already. I'm on my way out. Take a look at him, coach.
Right.
Bro's the captain of the team. Like the men's team now. Like, so no, I get that part. And that's very I commend you for that, because not a lot of people would be like, oh, I have a spot, it's my spot. Yeah, that's how people look at things now.
That's how I was in high school.
You have your spot, it's my spot.
Because I earned my spot.
Right. You earned the spot. Yeah, no. 110%.
And don't get me wrong. If I could have done it, if I could have been at practice every day, if I could have, put in the same amount of work and time that my teammates were required to do, I'd have been the same way. Yo, that's my spot. You're going to have to take it from me if you want it. But there was that part of me that knew, I could show up on game day and I could deliver. I could show up and do what I need to do. I was talented enough to do that.
Right.
But it didn't feel right. And I think those are just lessons that were instilled in me, like from my father, from my family. Like, don't take nothing that you can't give 100% to. If you're not going to give 100% to it, don't do it.
Right.
My parents was like, they were tired of me in high school because I was Miss Student Council, I was Miss Cheerleading, I was Miss Basketball, I was Miss, Honor Society. So it was like I was out to school 7 days a week, just trying to give 100% to everything that I was a part of. So I definitely get that drive to be like, hey, you know what? This is not really my passion. So, I don't want to take a spot from somebody who is there. It is their passion. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I agree with that.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing in wrestling. Like when I see young kids coming in, if I can give somebody something that, so I'm sure Dre, you know him, Shane Fair, the ring announcer.
Yes, my guy. I love Shane.
And I love Shane, right? So Shane will tell you if you ask him, right? I was at one point still trying to find my way into the business, and I was doing ring announcing at BWF. And Shane came in and wanting to do ring announcing, and I remember saying, "Hey, let's give him a chance. Let's do this." And even brought him to like Mr. Anthony Cole and was like, "Hey, let's give this guy an opportunity. He's really, really good." And so to me, because especially in wrestling, it's very tough, especially up here in the Northeast. Like there's a lot of closed doors, right? Yes. It's a lot of like, if you want to get in, you got to know the right people. They got to be okay with you going into, getting into spaces. It's not like you can be the best at what you do and you're going to get a lot of like opportunities. It's just not like that up here for people trying to get into the wrestling business and not be a wrestler. Right. So for me, I was given an opportunity by somebody 8 years ago to get a chance. And at that point, it was just like, I'm going to open the door for you. You got to walk through it and earn your spots beyond that door. But I'm going to open this door for you. And to me, it was the same thing with Shane Fair, the idea of paying it forward, right? Like, yo, Shane, you want to do this? If you're serious about this, if you want to make it, I will open a door for you. After that, it's up to you. But I will help you find your way in. Because to me, that's my way of paying it forward. And it's the same thing when it was like in baseball or wrestling or even in sports. It was just like, if this is something that you want to do and I can help you do it, all right, I'll open that door for you, but it's up to you to do everything else.
Of course.
100%, 110%.
Sometimes people need is just the opportunity to be able to show. Either you're going to show and prove or you're going to sit down. You're going to be exposed either way.
Yep. I agree with that 100% because it's like that everywhere in terms of like work life too. Like if somebody puts you on and says, "Hey, apply to this, do this, and do it," regardless of where they put you, you have to do the work. You have to go in the interview. You have to pass the interview, and when you get the job, you still have to excel because regardless of what you did, again, it's a reflection of the other person, but it's even more of a reflection of the type of person you are. So that's how I see it. So I believe BK Matt has joined us. Let me see. Yes, here we go. And welcome back to the show, BK Matt.
What's good, man?
It's good.
Sleeping days.
Huh?
You look like you ain't sleeping days.
No, that's all I've been doing is sleeping. All I've been freaking doing is sleeping.
You should have stayed longer. I'm worried.
They got me. I've never been so. We need those type of drugs in like outside the hospital. I slept great. Not gonna hold you. I slept great. Slept awesome. I ain't gonna hold you. I don't remember a lot. Khalid could have possibly took advantage of me in that house, but I wouldn't even know. Not gonna lie to you.
All right, well, this is not that type of show today to be talking about your wife taking advantage of you. So
that just means I might get another niece and nephew. I ain't mad at it.
There's a whole Facebook group, if I'm not mistaken, that deals with things just like this.
Right. So anybody wants to talk about the stuff that Matt talks about, join the Cats and Dogs group page for sure.
Listen, that page, ladies and gentlemen, please understand that page is on the borderline of not safe for work. Right? There are times you do not want, if you are not in a private space, there are some times you do not want to open that page.
You'd be X-rated and highly favored.
You're like,
the recklessness that be coming out on that page sometimes.
I hardly even know my cousin, and she's in there. I'm like, what?
What? Why are you saying these things?
Yeah, like I had to hit up. Like, really? This is what we do?
Like we have a conversation needs to be had right now.
Right.
I ain't even mad at her, but I can't. I didn't know she was like that. I mean, I got more kids than she do. So I'm like, damn. What it is?
Well,
what up, Pete? What's good, Pete? What's good? What's going on?
Not much. How are you, man? I know you and I spoke not too long ago. I forget what episode it was. We went back and forth in the chat, me and you, a couple of times on some things.
Look, you gotta understand. I'm not gonna highly debate Tavia because she'll kill me. But everybody else can get the smoke. Everybody else get the smoke. I'm with all.
Nah,
You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it.
Nope. Tavia get the smoke too. Nope.
Yeah,
No, she
I
going to
mean-
show she get the smoke.
If I
So
could
this is
survive,
almost like, all right, she gonna get the smoke. But hold up,
You know
before we
why
go
I
further.
can't get the smoke from y'all? Because 99% of the time I'm right. The only time I was ever wrong was about Luca. That was it. Everybody else,
That's right.
I've been right about.
We
So
about
you
to debate
really
now
can't
because that's just wrong.
You can't
It's
even
wrong.
get
We're not gonna look.
because
You all right.
mind.
Being that we on that topic of me and you and the fact that I let you get away with a lot of shit. Right?
What?
All right. Cause all right, there was a
I'm
there was
sorry.
a comment.
I'm sorry. Kelsey, congratulations.
Congratulations, Queen. Yes.
Congratulations.
So
Congratulations.
for those who don't know, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, she was on our 21st episode that's called Mambo Sauce. She's from the DMV and she just got hired by the Washington football team. So and she'll be
we need your help to give it that name. That's all I really need for you to do. I bought some Mambo sauce right before I went to the hospital, but we need you to change that name, Queen.
Yeah,
we need you to change that name.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Though.
She's definitely doing big things. She was such a joy to have on the show. We're definitely gonna have her on again so she can tell us about everything she's been up to, including this. But let's move forward real quick. The NFL
always moves forward so awkwardly. He's like,
Yeah, no. Because you see, my problem is when I'm pulling up notes and stuff, right? Right. I'll be messing up, and then I'll be loading up while the notes is loading up.
We got to get you that. We got to get you that Michelle Tafoya training. But like, and next on NFL Countdown, we're
right. No, that's true. That's true. I'm gonna work on that.
They got them. They got them good cuts.
They do.
Yo, Dre,
they do.
Dre, one day I'm gonna be the moderator. Right? So
negative.
What?
No, you're not. No, you're not.
What's the problem with me being the moderator?
Because y'all barely know how to control time talking.
With you, right? Like, we need to be able to regulate, like, the outrageous shit that you be saying sometimes. Like, I
can tell time, first of all.
You can't be, when you're moderating, you can't be really an active part of the debate. And, like, sometimes you got to be debated.
I could not get involved in certain times. It's just when
no.
And I can tell time. What are you trying to say? I can tell time.
Y'all, you look at him. See, so the NFL, right? week 2.
Meanwhile, back in the NFL,
right? Back in the NFL. Week one was pretty fun. I know the game of the week that we thought was really going to be the game of the week was a little different than we thought. But I think with those Buccaneers, they're going to figure it out. Somebody said the Bucs may be 9-7 this year.
That's reasonable.
Yeah,
that's reasonable. About that. Let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
When we spoke about this early in the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. I did say that when they ran up against New Orleans, it's going to be a problem for them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? New Orleans is a scary team. They're always in talks for contention every single year. You get what I'm saying? They're not anything to blink or sneeze at. So it's not like, they went, they lost to the Jets or they lost to the damn Miami Dolphins. And you're like, what the hell is this? You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Drew Brees and Kamara, like that dream, they're a dream team too. So let's not get that twisted. Yeah. Now, if Kamara, because I think Kamara signed the contract at the very last minute.
5 years.
Yeah. And I think he signed the contract like the day before the season started. Mm-hmm. So without Kamara, then it'd be more of a balanced match. But Gronk wasn't really involved that much. He didn't really have too many touches. He maybe had 3 or 4 touches. I know because he's on my fantasy football team, and I was really angry.
Michael Thomas is on my fantasy football team. He only had 2 touches and he got hurt.
Right. I think Brady still looked good. I mean, he got intercepted. The great ones do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then we have to continue to remember that this man is playing in his like 21st season or 20th season.
See, here's
Something
my
close
thing,
to
though,
that.
right? We also got to understand Tom Brady, and I'm gonna say this straight off the rip.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Tom Brady.
Me too.
I do too.
I'm a
We
Jets
all do.
fan. That
My
boy done
man!
killed us.
My man, Gang Green. That's what I'm talking about, Pete. That's what we do. Gang Green. That's what I'm saying.
I grew up in the
Yes.
Jets household, but I'm a Giants fan. But I get it.
I'm a Jets fan. Listen, I grew up loving Vinny Testaverde and Wayne Corbett and Chad Pennington, right?
And
So
Santana Moss.
You watched during the Boomer days.
right, you know, I was born in the late 80s, so like I was watching the early 90s Jets, mid 90s Jets. You know, I remember when we had Lavernius Coles on that team as a number one wide receiver, right? So we had some really great Jets teams, and Tom Brady was always the problem for us. So I hate New England. I hate Tom Brady. I'm also a New York bred sports fan, so I hate anything New England, right? Here's my thing, though. We have to understand the NFL did not have a preseason. Tom Brady did not get a chance to gel with these players the way he would want to. Tom Brady did not get a chance to really get his system in there. A lot of this is on the fly. These are new players, with the exception of Rob Gronkowski. There's really nobody that Tom Brady has any kind of comfort level with. Now, if I'm looking at their schedule and I'm looking at the way teams played in week 1, I can see them going maybe 10-6, possibly 11-5, right? Here's why. Not because I like them or anything, or not because I think the Buccaneers are some great team, right? But I think they beat Carolina in week 2, right? I think they're going to beat Carolina. I love Carolina. They're like my secondary home team, right? But I'm not sold on Teddy Bridgewater being a number 1 quarterback, right? Yeah. So I think they beat Carolina in week 2. Possibly they can beat Denver in week 3. I think that Drew Lock experiment is still something that needs to be put in motion. I don't know if it's something that is going to be, fast for them. I think they could go on a 4-game winning streak, because I think they could beat the Chargers in week 3, and I think they could beat the Bears in week 4.
Yes, they could.
Right. So now we got a 4-1 team going into a home game against Green Bay. Right now, how healthy is Aaron Rodgers going to be? Is he going to be the bad man that we all know Aaron Rodgers to be? I think that game's a toss-up. I'm going to give that to Green Bay. I think they beat the Raiders, so now they're 5-2. I think they beat the Giants. They're 6-2. Now they go into a secondary game against New Orleans, right? I don't know if they lose again, because I know how Brady is, right? This really all depends on how good New Orleans is. Let's say New Orleans takes that, right? They're 6-3.
More or less, if Drew Brees is still healthy. That's another thing.
Right. I think they beat Carolina again. I think they can beat the Los Angeles Rams. Then they lose to Kansas City, right? And then I think the last 4 games of the year, I think the only game that they could probably lose in the last 4 games is maybe the game against Minnesota, and that's only based on the defense of Minnesota. That's only based on the defense of Minnesota.
That's true. But the thing is with Minnesota, they're a late season team.
They are.
It seems like they don't get it together until week 12.
Well, 13. You know why? That's because their quarterback, Kirk Cousins, doesn't get it started until week 18.
No, just say what it is. He's a bum.
Yeah.
I need to be honest. Just say he's a bum. Come on, let's not be politically correct here.
He's
a bum.
on the same level to me as Carson Wentz.
So I see. Listen, I can.
So Peter, we're laughing. So the reason why we're laughing is that it was a debate last week, and it was a debate amongst each other between Wilkins and Davia about Carson Wentz. And Davia was basically like, he's just an average ass quarterback, basically.
He's above average.
Right. It took for me to get involved, and I told him, like, look, because Wilkins were all right. The last game that they had, right, where Carson Wentz got obliterated, he got sacked like 7 or 8 times. He's blaming it on the O-line. I'm blaming it on his decision making, which is the norm for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is the type of quarterback, he'll make an unbelievable play out of nothing, right? But then he'll
turn it over
on a basic play.
Turn it over. The next play.
On a basic play, he'll turn it over. On a basic play, like a slant, he'll turn it over.
You know why Philly doing this, right? It's because they
Why?
disrespected Donovan McNabb. Ever since
Facts.
Philly disrespected Donovan McNabb, they have not had a good quarterback play in Philly since then. Listen, they won a Super Bowl. I give them that. But they have not had a good and consistent quarterback since they disrespected Donovan McNabb.
And Nick Foles.
Preach.
And Nick
They
Foles.
disrespected Nick Foles too.
They way disrespected
Let me
Nick
tell you
Foles.
something. Nick Foles should have got the contract that Wentz
Yeah.
got with the Eagles.
Whole
Mhm.
fact.
That's
And again, it's a situation where we're saying Carson Wentz is not a bum. He's a really good quarterback.
Right.
But I
He's
feel
a
like
really
he's
good
more.
quarterback.
He's an overrated once. Like I don't feel like he deserved the money that he's getting paid.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion on it.
You would have thought he won them that Super Bowl and he was on the bench.
Facts.
Right.
He was on the bench. He was injured.
He was a paid cheerleader. He was a super paid cheerleader.
But the problem is, and this is the one
My
thing
man
that's
Nick-
always the problem with the NFL and quarterbacks. There are only
Mhm.
32 starting spots, right? So you're competing for one
Yeah.
of 32 contracts, right? You're not getting.
Right.
There's no backup quarterback that's going to be paid starting quarterback money, right?
Never.
And so
Facts.
the idea of it is, that's why Bridgewater wasn't going to get paid the contract that he wanted as a backup in New Orleans, right? That just wasn't going to happen. So Nick Foles should have gotten the contract, I think. But the problem was the NFL and especially NFL teams put way too much stock in draft position, right?
Facts.
We drafted Carson
That's
Wentz
it.
where we drafted him, so he has to be good, right? He's gonna have to pull it together at some point. And listen, I'm a Jets fan, and I'm gonna say this just as much as I love my team. I don't think Sam Darnold's talent is worthy of his draft position.
Not at all.
So
Not at
here's
all.
the problem. He's going to get paid
Not at all.
based on his draft position, because here's what people are going to say. He had, and he does. I think he has the worst coach in the league, in Adam Gase, right? I take anybody over Adam Gase. People are going to say Sam Darnold had terrible coaching. He had no weapons. He had no O-line. He had no running game. Oh, there's no way that high of a draft pick could be that bad. And if Sam Darnold leaves the Jets, he's going to get starting quarterback money somewhere else because someone's going to look at him as a reclamation project. This is why Carson Palmer got the money that he got when he was an older quarterback. This is why Jamarcus Russell stayed in the league as long as he did. This is why Cam Newton got the money he got from, Cam should have got a better contract, but Cam got signed. Why? Because look at his draft position. Look at what he does.
Yeah, but Cam had a killer. I used to call him like a killer Cam, right? Because his rookie, sophomore year, they were looking very Patriot-like the year that my team destroyed their parade, right?
But look at who he had on that team. He had a great team around him.
He had a great team around him, but he was one of the first this generation's real mobile quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So even though like Cam Newton deserved that money, he deserves more than what New England is paying him this year. You get what I'm saying?
New England wasn't going to give him that kind of money though.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, like it's sad that in the league that he had to take that type of contract when someone like a Sam Darnold, like you were saying, like other people are not as talented as him. I wouldn't even put Carson Wentz in the same category as I would put Cam Newton.
No, Cam Newton on any day of the week can be a top 10, top 5 quarterback. Let's be real. On any day of the week, his injuries is pretty much what stopped him. I'm not going to say the off the field stuff.
The same thing about Carson Wentz, though. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like the injury argument. To me, it's like a asterisk. You know what I'm saying? Like.
I gotta be honest though. You look at what he was surrounded with in Carolina in 2011. You're talking about having a young Greg Olsen. You're talking about having a veteran Jeremy Shockey on that team. They still had Steve Smith on that team, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. They had a defense with a young Greg Hardy on it. So you're talking about a 2011 Panthers team that really built a great team around. Cam got put into a beautiful situation. I honestly don't know if we're talking about Cam Newton the same way in 2020, if Cam Newton had been drafted to maybe like the Arizona Cardinals or the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Raiders, right? I don't know if we're talking about him in that same way because I don't know if Cam Newton had the moxie to lead a team from the depths up to Super Bowl contention. I think he got placed in a very great situation. I'm not going to sit here and say the kid can't play because the kid can play. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I think he also got placed in a golden goose kind of situation where he didn't have to do too much to be dominant in that team because they had a lot of weapons around him.
This is true. It's 100% true.
Give him Sam Darnold's chest.
But he also had, like, the year that he won the MVP award, he had, like, about a 60% passing completion rate, which is pretty high for the league at that time. Yes. And then him setting the rushing records for rookies, you get him setting the passing and rushing records for rookies, he is not. I feel like injuries kind of stopped him, and he did choke that Super Bowl 50. I would say that, but he won against, like, Peyton Manning or whatever. But I feel like Cam Newton, we have to put just a tad bit more respect on him.
Y'all think about Cam Newton, I'm thinking more or less the disrespect Aaron Rodgers is getting. Like the fact that they didn't give him no offensive weapons or nothing to like help Green Bay become the powerhouse that they're capable of being. They just drafted his replacement.
And then you saw what he did in week 1.
Yeah.
That week 1 performance by Aaron Rodgers was a straight jab at his coach saying, you think I'm done, think again.
It's like they sending him out the passer like they did to Brett Favre.
32 of 44, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns. And his weapons are not depleted. The best.
It's depleted.
His weapons are not the best. Let's not fake in front like he has the best weapons.
And that's something. Green Bay, let me tell you something. Green Bay, ever since Aaron Rodgers has been there, Green Bay has never had a running game to back him up.
No, they never did.
Aaron Rodgers has always had to do it on the strength of his arm and quarterback ability alone. And what that man has done to not have had any real major injuries, really not been off the field, and do what he's done is a testament to his ability as a quarterback.
Facts.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is the equivalent of, you ever seen the movie The Outsiders? You going into a fight with a knife when these guys is ready to, like, they ready to with guns and stuff. That's how that's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers makes something happen with just a knife in a gunfight. It's it's remarkable how he's still this crazy, really, really good quarterback in the situation that he's in, and he's not getting the respect that he deserves from his own coaching staff.
Let's kind of march it back a little bit, right? Aaron Rodgers did not deserve to be tied for number 1 with Tom Brady for NFL All 2010 quarterback.
Oh, yeah. We spoke about that. Yeah.
Right?
I ain't go that far.
Put in there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go that far.
I would have put Drew Brees over Rodgers for the 2010s, personally, based off of consistent career. I would say consistent season performance, right? They both only got 1 ring. I'm gonna take Brees over Rodgers.
Because of the ring?
No, they both got 1.
I would say probably the reason why I give it to Rodgers, it has to be, he's done more with less in his time.
That's my argument.
You can listen. I'm not going to sit here and ever argue how good Drew Brees is. I think that man is a really good quarterback. But he has.
There's anybody you can argue with Tom Brady and Drew Brees.
Right. He has always had
not on the
around him. Which honestly, as much as I hate Tom Brady, is the one reason why I put Tom Brady above Peyton Manning. Right? Because you could always say that in Indianapolis, they always gave him weapons. They always gave him weapons in Indianapolis. And they never gave Brady legitimate weapons until he got Randy Moss that 1 year in New England. And Brady was able to do more with less in New England, whether you want to say it's Brady or Belichick. They were able to do more with less in New England than Peyton Manning was able to do in Indianapolis with a wealth of talent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is true. This is true.
But I'm still not tying him for first when it comes to Brady for the 2010s. Like Aaron Rodgers, I put him in the top 5, right?
Yeah, he's definitely top 5.
For the 2010s, he should not have been tied for number 1. You can't. I can't see it.
Right, right.
Maybe top. I'll say top 5, and that's being more than fair. Maybe top. I would give him even number 3, number 4, because that's
Mhm.
still a decade. Peyton Manning still played until 2000 and what, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers is great, and I do agree with you, Pete, that he's done more with less, right?
Mhm.
But I feel that Brees has done more with less too. I think Brady's done more with less at sometimes. The only year I feel like Brady didn't capitalize on the talent that he had to win that year was when he had Hernandez and Gronk as on his team. You get what I'm saying? But my Giants, of course, spoiled that year for them. But I just feel like Aaron Rodgers, he's showing now that he still has a lot left in the tank. And getting back to the original argument about Tom Brady, I definitely agree with what you're saying. You get what I'm saying? There was no preseason. He had to kind of create scrimmages. He had to create scrimmages with the team to kind of get that going. And, it's informal. Everybody's kind of getting to know each other and this, that, and the third. And I feel like they were looking scary the first quarter.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And then they got figured out really easily, which was Tampa Bay's problem last year, the year before. You know what I'm saying? The year before, even with Jameis Winston. But I feel like with Brady, he's going to show improve this season. Do I think they're a Super Bowl contending team? No. Do I think they have what it takes to kind of like make a run? Hell yeah. 10-6? Yes. 11, even 11-5. I would give them that. I would give them.
I think they stay healthy, and Brady becomes Brady, and he really builds a relationship with that team. I can honestly say, just looking at the schedule, I think they can get anywhere from 10 wins to 12 wins, depending on how they play some of those rematches and how they play some of those teams. I think they're anywhere between 10-6 and 12-4. And honestly, if I'm looking at the last 4 games of their schedule, it's Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit, Atlanta. Right? If you go 4-0 in the last 4 games of the season and you're Tom Brady going into the playoffs, I think they're a dangerous team to watch if they're building that momentum at the end of the year.
Right. I think getting Tom Brady into the playoffs is just dangerous enough.
Yep.
So if teams aren't doing enough that they can to kind of rattle the Buccaneers, if Tom Brady gets to the playoffs, it's
Brady. You're not rattling him.
You're not rattling Brady. It's just the rest of the team.
Right.
Because it's the rest of the team that you're thinking about. Because as we saw in the beginning of the game, and one of the interceptions that he threw was kind of to Mike Evans, and Mike Evans was kind of pulling my Odell in the middle of the game last game and just being all over the place. And it's just, I think that relationship between your quarterback and your number one receiver has to be on point, or they're not going to go anywhere. Because, you could throw the ball to Gronk all you want. They start double teaming Gronk, and your number one guy is doing whatever he's doing. You're going to be stuck.
But Burke is another one that he warms up as the season progresses.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Because there were times where they were looking like they were getting ready to collapse.
Right.
I think it was the game with Kansas City the year before last, the AFC Championship game, that everybody thought that Kansas City could have won. Gronk was silent the whole first half.
Right.
And he won them that game.
Yeah.
Maybe Gronk needs Vince McMahon to show him how to play tight end.
Wow.
That was funny.
But I didn't even give my opinion on him. But
all right, because we have to move forward.
I agree with Pete. I think they'll go like 10-6. Again, it's more or less on they're still learning on the fly, which is not necessarily a bad thing. everybody had like a condensed training camp, so it's not no training camp at all. So I mean, they just got to build that chemistry. They got to build that bond. I think they'll get what they need to get out of these next couple games. They'll get that momentum and they'll build a little bit of a streak. But then they still got to run into Kansas City, and they're gonna have to run into New Orleans. So it's like, again, you're gonna go against well-established teams. You're probably not gonna do that well, but I think they'll go 10-6. I'm not gonna judge them based on the first game. So
cool. Just a few quick hot takes out of the games you see this week. Of course, we're going to mention our Giants and Bears.
The Giants should be ashamed of themselves. They allowed Roethlisberger, coming off an injury, to outrush Saquon Barkley.
Time out.
You need to say that.
Time out.
Great Roethlisberger.
First of all, put some respect on Ben Roethlisberger's name.
Thank you.
Secondly,
I'm not putting
he's actually on my fantasy team. He's actually on my fantasy team too.
Here's where I'm never going to be allowed.
It's supposed to be like number 2 on fantasy football rankings, right? He was like number 2, right?
I'm gonna hit you with the only man who can make this point. Right? Earn it. Hold up, Ben Roethlisberger, earn it. Ben Roethlisberger, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. No.
Put some respect on Roethlisberger.
No, and here's where Tavia is gonna make sure I never get on this show again. I have said this for years. In private conversations. I have said this for as long as I can remember, since the day they were drafted. Ben Roethlisberger should have been the Giants quarterback instead of Eli Manning.
Hang up with this damn phone. Ben Roethlisberger couldn't have done what Eli did to
You're right. He could have done better. Anyway, let me.
I have no comment on that.
Yeah.
I have no comment.
He did.
Hold
on, Eli did. I'm not going to take this Eli disrespect, right?
Eli's the third best Manning behind Cooper.
Could not do in the playoffs, okay? And our Giants is a mediocre ass team.
First off, Eli did not. Eli, listen, if it wasn't for my mans from my alma mater who made one great play in his entire career, David Tyree, Eli does not get that first Super Bowl. Okay, because Eli overthrew his wide receiver on a straight over the middle of the field deep pass. How you overthrow your wide receiver 5 feet above his head, where he got to jump to the tip top of his hop, take that ball and attach it to his helmet. Eli Manning overthrew a wide open receiver on a crossing route across the middle of the field, and your fourth best wide receiver had to save you.
But guess what?
Y'all won.
We won.
Right. I get that.
Guess what Big Ben didn't do against Tom Brady several times.
You're right. But first of all, we're going to put some respect on Ben's name. And secondly, we're going to put some respect on the Steelers.
Never outran Saquon Barkley.
Listen.
That just shows how great he is.
The Steelers D. Let's put some respect on Mike Tomlin's name.
Depleted on Thursday, and as depleted as they look, because I think James Conner got injured too. Right?
Blame that on Garrett. Blame it on him. Don't blame it on Roethlisberger.
I'm blaming it on.
Blame it on Garrett. That's your offensive coordinator.
I will say this, right?
You got this Cowboys ass coach on our team.
Garrett don't got nothing to do with the defense.
When it comes to Pittsburgh
Steelers,
I'm talking about Big Ben not have had the chance to rush more yards than what's supposedly one of the best RBs in the game.
But and I give you that, right? From an analytical sense, right? Your number one running back should not be outrun by the quarterback on the opposing team. And I agree with you, but
an aging quarterback too.
What we need to do is start putting some respect. What we need to start doing is putting some respect on Mike Tomlin's name. Because let me tell you something. Mike Tomlin don't get no respect as the coach of Pittsburgh Steelers. And I grew up watching Bill Cowher. I thought Bill Cowher was one of the greatest coaches in the NFL. But Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has done some great things with that Pittsburgh Steelers team. And that defense, even when they got no names on that defense, there's no Palomalus on that defense. There's no names on that Steelers defense. They are out there still playing Steeler defense. And that's what you call a team culture always coming through. You damn well know if you are a defensive player going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, you play deep. Right?
True.
And so the Steelers defense is what shut down Saquon. That's what happened.
Well, as much as I would love to stay on football, I just want to get a few rapid fire games, and you guys just tell me who's gonna win. We're gonna start with Matt, go to Tavia, then go to Peter to end it. So I'm gonna name 5 games out the schedule, right? Giants, Bears. Matt.
Bears. No, Giants. Come back. Go with Giants.
T.
Bears.
Damn.
Peter.
No faith.
Giants. The Bears are who we thought they were.
No.
All right. Falcons, Cowboys.
Give it to the Cowboys. I give it to them. I don't think they're gonna shit the bed this time. Go ahead.
Go ahead, T.
The Cowboys.
Pete.
I think that's a toss-up game, really, but I'm gonna give it to the Falcons. I think they're gonna come back after that showing from last week.
Okay.
What about the Cowboys? They didn't show
Seahawks, Patriots.
Ooh, Seahawks.
Patriots.
What?
Seahawks. Russell Wilson all day, baby.
Russell Wilson didn't look that good for week 1 to me at
I'm
all.
talking about that damn defense. I don't think
All
they're
right.
doing ready for that defense.
I love Russell Wilson. Don't get me wrong. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. I think he's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh. Panthers, Bucks.
Fuck.
T.
Bucks.
I think this is going to be a close game, but I think Tom Brady and the Bucks pull it out in the end.
Okay. And the last one, Eagles, Rams.
Ooh. Shit. Damn. Shit. Fuck. Rams. Sorry. I'm going with Rams. And I like the Eagles. I'm going with the Rams.
I'm gonna go against the grain here. I think the Eagles are going to win, but I think Aaron Donald's gonna have a field day against that offensive line.
Oh yeah. Bro about to get sacked a dozen more times. For sure. A dozen more times for sure. So, on to the NBA, guys. Let's talk about it. We're going to get into the conference finals, but let's get to something we were talking about before. Tavia said it, and it made sense, and then it started popping up like wildfire on Facebook. Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, right? Kawhi Leonard has been called the best player in the NBA for the past 2 years, right? So, with that being said, with being the best player in the NBA the past 2 years, why aren't we keeping the same energy with him as we keep with LeBron? Because 0 points in a fourth quarter of a closeout game.
Come on.
Right? 14 points overall in a closeout game. We can talk all day about pandemic P, and we'd be here just to talk about how bad he's been.
But before we do that, can we just touch on the fact that he is not as good as everybody make him out to be?
We know.
Not.
Paul George.
Fucking Paul George.
Oh
that
my
is just,
God.
Right.
Nah, we changed his name. He Roy Hibbert 2.0.
He dazzed Roy Hibbert, the Clippers for sure.
Overrated.
Right. So
10 points in a closeout game.
To be honest with you, everybody was talking real big. Clippers going to take the championship. This is the Clippers here. Yeah, you were. Yes, you were. And it's time for receipts. You get what I'm saying? And Paul George, he needs to be
shot.
Oh my God!
No. We only speak about that about James Dolan on here. We don't do that about actual NBA players. Go ahead, T.
I feel that Paul George has been overrated since his days in Indiana.
Yeah, it was Danny Granger's team,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Kawhi Leonard. What upsets me about it is Kawhi, because the spotlight is always on LeBron. people like Kawhi, players like Kawhi, could kind of skate under notice. You get what I'm saying? When they make really big errors. And I feel as if he is the best player in the league, there is no way in hell you lose that game that way. And you're quiet.
See, here's my issue with this. And you know, Dre sent me some talking points earlier in the week. He was like, yo, Pete, here's some things we might be talking about this week, just to kind of prep you, right? And I saw this on the list, and I sat down for the last 3 days, and I've really been thinking about this. First off, outside of whatever Max Kellerman be smoking, there ain't nobody in the world that is a real basketball person who should legitimately be thinking Kawhi Leonard equals best player in the league. Okay. There's a whole bunch of 2K lovers who thinks Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the league. There's a whole bunch of basketball fans who only watch the games and think Kawhi Leonard. And here's why Kawhi got that idea. Okay. Kawhi was what? A third option in San Antonio? Okay. Okay, because you can legitimately say they probably give Kawhi the ball before they give Ginobili the ball, but you can honestly say the top 3 players in San Antonio during Kawhi's years are Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. Straight.
Yeah, but you know,
it wasn't even Ginobili. It was Green.
At that point, their production was waning at that point.
It was.
Kawhi was a great option.
Now,
no. Let's be real here, right? He looked phenomenal on that court during the San Antonio time.
Well, I think you could put anybody in that position with a good offensive skill, and I think what made Kawhi's game was his defensive ability. Listen, Kawhi, if you tell me, if you want to sit here and say Kawhi Leonard, one of the top 5 defensive players in the league, I will say yes, right? I will say yes. But if you want to sit here and tell me Kawhi Leonard, top player in the league, top 5 players all around in the league, I'm going to argue with you all day, and here's why. He goes to Toronto. He gets traded to Toronto.
I'm ready for this argument.
And wins the chip, right? Wins the chip. And people all of a sudden become enamored on this idea of, oh, Kawhi Leonard did what Dwayne Casey and DeMar DeRozan couldn't do. He won a chip in 1 year. And he got all this praise heaped on him as if he was better than what he was. And let me just be very, very clear. Kawhi Leonard does not win the chip unless that 1 in a million shot does not go in. Okay? If I put Kawhi back in that position 100 more times, I don't think he made that shot 100 more times, right? And so that was a bit of luck getting him to where he was. Now he goes to LA, and he gets put in this position with Paul George and that whole team, right? The reason why I don't think he gets the heat, Dre, is because I think real basketball people, they're gonna slice him for the production. They're going to slice him for not coming through. But 2 reasons. 1, Kawhi is a quiet individual. Kawhi doesn't do a lot of talking. Kawhi isn't big and boisterous and in your face. Kawhi doesn't guarantee anything. He doesn't say this is what he's going to do. So in a way, he kind of shields himself from it, right? But I think in a bigger picture, I don't think there are any real basketball people that legitimately thought Kawhi was the best player in the league, and, you know, that automatically him going to LA meant that he was guaranteed the chip. On LeBron's case, though, from day one, the man was considered the king. He is the Jordan of this era, right? If we're thinking of this era of basketball, he is the Jordan figure. And I think a lot of the heat that LeBron gets, he brings on himself. I think if LeBron does not leave Cleveland the second time to go to LA, and he stays in Cleveland, he could have lost every year. And they'd have been like, okay, it's the aging LeBron. He's doing it for his hometown team. He's putting that team in a position. If he would have stayed and brought Anthony Davis to Cleveland, they would have thought, okay, he's building that team for the generations after him. But it almost seems to me like LeBron does not get out of his own way. He goes to LA, and I think there's a lot of people who looked at it as he's still chasing a legacy. He's still chasing a name. Like, he doesn't feel like he's done enough, right? And so I think that brings it to LeBron a little bit more, and the fact that people are like, you're still chasing something. And so because you got to feel like you got to go to LA and get with AD and put together this team around you, what are you trying to do? You're doing it for what? To get another title? To get more of a legacy? To solidify your name? Right? And so people are always going to pile on LeBron because it always seems like he's chasing a legacy that he's never going to catch.
All right. I hear that. That's all cool.
Yeah. Matt, yeah, your thoughts on Kawhi?
That's all cool. But when we're talking about the not garnering, you talking to me?
Yes.
Hello? All right. Kawhi gets all this. He's not getting the attention that LeBron garners. And I told Tavy this last week more so is because Kawhi didn't go into the league saying that, declaring that he was this threat. I'm not saying that LeBron did, but it was put upon him, and his fans pretty much made it. He made it an issue where it was like he's chasing Jordan, to the point that he started literally chasing rings so he could be garnered into that same boat as Jordan. That's not wrong. Why else would you join two other?
Let me tell you why.
And declare I'm gonna win 3, 4, 5, 6. You declared that. It came from your mouth, so it's not wrong. So
you know why he did that? Did you see what the fans of Cleveland were doing when he was on the
why he did it? He did it.
I don't care what they were doing. You had these people burning his jersey in the street, and he had him being the Sagittarius.
Jerseys don't make you say I'm going to win 4, 5, 6 rings.
Oh well.
You declared that. You wanted that.
What Pete said was that he feel like he got to chase something because people keep comparing him to other people. People keep comparing him to Jordan. He's not comparing himself to Jordan. People keep comparing him to Jordan. It's not because of his fans. It's because of his detractors. You get what I'm saying? And the thing is, why?
He wouldn't have many detractors if his fans wasn't so damn annoying. That's just what it is.
Kawhi is. That was the biggest choke job in history.
And
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not.
Nobody's saying that it's not.
Doing the layup in Game 7 of the 1995 second round series with that was worse. What Kawhi did was worse. Just because he didn't talk a big game, LeBron was never
quiet. He's not in everybody's face. He's not on everybody's commercials and none of that. Like LeBron is.
LeBron was never arrogant like a Jordan was. He was never arrogant like a Paul Pierce was. He was not arrogant like a Kobe was. You get what I'm saying?
He's on the floor playing.
LeBron didn't have that arrogance. One thing you don't
on the floor, he's not arrogant. That's your argument.
You never put LeBron and arrogant in the same sentence.
When he's on the floor, he's domineering. You know he's there.
Okay, he's letting
you literally score 40 points. You
but
won't see.
People need to keep the same energy, and that's what it all boils down.
Look, you're right. You're right that people need to keep the same energy.
Why are you yelling?
We are keeping the same energy. Let me get to the point where I can tell you, Kawhi choke. Yes, I am getting it. I am keeping the same energy because you ain't never ever heard me say Kawhi's the best player.
You was the main one saying that you was the main one saying that the Lakers wasn't going to pass the Clippers. You was no one else.
The Clippers as a team. I said the Clippers as a team.
You said LeBron didn't want to see Kawhi. You said that.
When I said the Clippers are going to win, did I say it's because Kawhi or did I say because of that defense is full of dogs? Did I not say that? You will never hear me say, oh, because of Kawhi. Kawhi only won the ring last year because the goddamn KD and Clay got hurt. So let's go there. I've never said, oh, because Kawhi's there. That means he's the best player in the league.
At the end of the day, we can't say, oh, because of this. The fact remains that he won the championship, right? The fact remains that he won the MVP for that championship in San Antonio. So we can say, well, this or this or this.
One leg.
But let's go. Let's go with facts. Right?
I am going with facts.
Let's go with facts. If the fact is, if it was LeBron who choked, LeBron never lost a 3-1 series. Never.
No, but he's
lose a 3-1 series. He's choking fucking big moments too.
Never went up 3-1 and lost. Kobe's done it. Chris Paul has done it. Kawhi has done it. Clay and what's his face? Steph Curry.
This goes back to the why everybody gets at LeBron.
And everybody makes
y'all compare him in every situation and try to make his and boost his status. Like, why?
People are just like, what are you talking about?
My problem is y'all compare LeBron's situation to every
Don't ever put Kawhi and LeBron in the same sentence again.
Well, the problem is
they should have never been in the same sentence, Tavy. They should have never been in the same sentence. And I feel like that was a construction by fans, by the media to make Kawhi into something that he wasn't. Kawhi, I don't believe. Listen, I'm not saying that Kawhi should not get the same energy. Yes, Kawhi and the Clippers choked away a 3-1 lead. Yes, they did.
You want to know why they get put in the same breath right now? They get put in the same breath right now because LeBron wanted Kawhi to come to the Lakers. And he said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go to the Clippers in the same arena as you, and I'm going to go up against you, and I'm going to beat you. He did that.
They've been first of all, they've been comparing. Let's be real here.
Stop it. They were not comparing the two. LeBron last year. Stop.
Now. They've been comparing the two.
So the whisper. So
it was better than LeBron since his days at San Antonio.
The whisper started as soon. The whispers.
LeBron down.
Well, that's where the whispers started about Kawhi potentially being better than LeBron. That's when the whispers started. But realistically, we all know, everybody on this podcast knows who the better player is, who's going to go down as one of the best, if not the best player of all time in general. Now, in terms of people comparing and contrasting, again, the comparing and contrasting started when bro was in high school. When they were calling him the chosen one in high school. Before he even got to the league. So did the fans amplify it? Did the fans amplify it? Yes. Did the media amplify it? Hell yes. Because again, everybody, it's not just people, looking at LeBron and saying this. Everybody's looking for the next Jordan. Nobody's looking for the next such and such player. Everybody's looking to compare everybody to Jordan. And because Jordan is the greatest of all time.
So
he was money. He made more money for that.
Right, let's not get into this Jordan argument.
No. I'm not getting into the argument. I'm speaking general statements. I'm not saying I believe Jordan is the greatest of all time. I'm saying, look, everybody has their own opinion. I don't believe Jordan is the greatest of all time. You believe it, but again, the media has it out, and the majority of basketball fans say Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. As the greatest of all time, people always want to compare you to the top of the food chain. So no matter how good you are, they were comparing James Harden to Michael Jordan this year because of his scoring. That's what I'm talking about. Because they're just looking for somebody to compare him to. Why? Who knows? Everybody's searching for that Jordan and not looking in front of you to see that we have some of the greatest NBA players ever playing in this generation.
I think part of it is they want to compare to something that people hold in a state of reverence, right? So we look at, when Embiid came into the league, they were talking about he's the next great big man. He could be the next this, he could be the next that. When Karl Anthony Towns came into the league, they're like, oh my God, he's like the best of Barkley and the best of Garnett and this and this and this. And the reason is because it allows for fans to connect with that younger player by connecting to an older player. The problem with that becomes when they don't do that, right? When Karl Anthony Towns isn't the next Kevin Garnett, when Joel Embiid is not the next this, that, and the third, when Kawhi Leonard is not the next this. And when I'm waiting for the comparisons for the Jamal Murrays and
they already did. They compared them away.
But look,
they compared them away.
Kawhi Leonard was voted the AP's Athlete of the Year last year. Okay, this man's a 2-time Finals MVP, right? 2-time NBA champion. So just because he's quiet and timid, right, doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve the smoke. For
nobody's saying he doesn't deserve the
smoke.
Right?
ever finish a point? Like, why can't I ever finish saying what I'm saying?
You saying that he doesn't.
You don't
He's
even
not
know
getting.
where I was going with this.
Go ahead.
Nah, fuck it. I'm done. Go ahead. Y'all keep next.
All right, so the conference finals, right? We have the Celtics and the Heat, and we have the Lakers in Denver. We saw both game ones and actually game two of the Miami and Boston series. With game one, we'll talk about the Lakers and Denver series first. With game one going with how it went, Peter, what did you see from the Lakers that you haven't seen in the past two series?
Well, I saw a level of toughness that came out of them, and obviously their usage of Dwight Howard in this series in Game 1 is going to be, and in this entire series is going to be different from the last series because Houston's lineup rendered Dwight Howard basically unusable in that series. He's going to be called upon. Him and why am I forgetting old boy's name?
JaVale?
Yeah, and McGee, there we go. JaVale McGee are going to be called upon a lot to guard Nikola Jokic, who I think him and Murray are really the two that are going to define this series, right? If the reason why I think they lose yesterday is two reasons. One, Lakers had a lot of rest, right? Denver's coming off, two straight having to win 4 straight games in the series, 3 straight games in the series, so they got a lot riding on them. They got a lot of momentum, but they're tired. Right, I don't think they're getting as much rest. Lakers got a chance to rest up and get ready, and obviously Jokic and Millsap and Murray getting into foul trouble. I think Game 2 is going to have to be them figuring out how do we not get into foul trouble and realizing how to attack the basket and move Anthony Davis away from the basket, keep Jokic in the games, keep him effective. I think honestly, in my opinion, Jokic is in the running to be one of the top 5 game-changing players in this league soon, if he can really round out some parts of his game, because I don't think there's a damn thing Nikola Jokic cannot do on the court. But we're going to need to see from the Lakers is can they sustain this, because we've already seen Denver come back from 3-1 against 2 different teams. I'm not saying it's going to be possible a third time, but I also don't think, and here's where this kind of ties into the other argument with Kawhi, the LeBron Jordan argument also, to me, has this one thing. I don't think there was ever a team or a player that went into a playoff series against Jordan and wasn't scared.
Sure.
I don't think players are as afraid of LeBron James in the playoffs as they ever were of Jordan in the playoffs. And I think that's going to be very key. Can LeBron James make Denver afraid of him and Anthony Davis to win this series?
T, your thoughts on that series?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be way more competitive than people think it's going to be. I think that Denver, they remind me of the Titans' last Super Bowl run. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of undercover, dangerous team. Nobody would have thought that they would have gotten this far. And I do think that them taking out the Clippers made it easier for the Lakers to kind of go into the finals. So.
Yeah. Matt, your thoughts on the Clippers Nuggets series?
You mean the Lakers and the Nuggets?
Lakers Nuggets. Sorry, the damn Los Angeles teams. Lakers Nuggets.
Well, I'm honestly 2 back-to-back series where they fought from behind to go to Game 7. That does wear on your body, and to go against this Laker team where you got practically 3 big 7-foot dudes that can dominate you down low is going to wear on Joker. So, I mean, Game 1, like Pete said, foul trouble is a thing, and they're all not great free throw shooting, but they're pretty good, and that's pretty much been their game. They'll get you in foul trouble. That's how they took care of the Trailblazers, and that's practically how they got rid of Houston. No free throws. So, and they know how to make you turn over the ball. So, the Nuggets, they're gonna have to play from behind with this series. Why? Because they're gassing the fuck out. Again, two back to back, come from behind 7-game series is gonna wear on you. So they're in for an uphill battle. But like Tay said, they're not going to go away quietly. They're not going to go away quietly.
Yeah, I think with the Nuggets basically playing every other day since the playoffs have started, and the Lakers finishing out their series early, yeah, it comes to a battle of rest. And what I said at the beginning of the series, and when I found out they were playing the Nuggets, is the Lakers get to truly play how they're supposed to play with all of their bigs.
Yeah.
The reason why the Lakers were having a little bit of issues with the Rockets in game one is that you have three of the best defensive bigs in the league on one team. And you can't play them because the Rockets' biggest player is 6'7", playing center at PJ Tucker. Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee is not going to chase around what's his name? PJ Tucker, especially at the 3-point line, right?
Yeah.
They're not fast enough to get back to the boards and rebound, which is why the Rockets were out rebounding them some games. So they had to adjust. Now you have AD running the 4 or the 5. You have Morris running the 4 or the 5, and you stop that small ball. Now with Denver being the biggest team that they have to play against, like they played Portland when they had their bigs, you can use your complete team. You can use your complete bigs and give Anthony Davis that rest. Give LeBron that rest because Rondo is here. You can and now you can play so many different lineups where the Lakers can just thrive and just be the great team that they are when they're on one. Like I said, I called them the Los Angeles Cavs from time to time because the team is essentially built like the Cavaliers. But at the end of the day, I don't think Denver is going to have enough to beat them. They're not going to have enough to beat them, and they're not going to have the Lakers and LeBron James, especially, is not going to let a team come back from 3-0 or 3-1 to beat them. So definitely think Lakers in 5 because I think Denver takes one. But
they'll probably take the next one.
Yeah, I say Lakers in 6. I'll give Denver 2 games. I think they win 1 on ability and 1 on sneakiness. Because I think there's going to be a game that LeBron's going to have an off night. I think AD might have an off night. They might get into foul trouble. So I give the Nuggets 2 games. I think this goes 6. But I feel bad because my sentimental pick is I want to see the Nuggets in the finals after what they've done those first 2 rounds.
Yeah. You want the entertainment value. You want a good story, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the funny thing about this Lakers team is LeBron doesn't even have to have big games for them to come up big and win. Like, it all really falls on Anthony Davis being a monster, and he has to be a monster. Playoff Rondo got to continue to be playoff Rondo. Paul Pope has to knock down shots. Cool's got to step up some more. So I mean, LeBron doesn't have to play like the LeBron that we know because he has help. His help just got to show the fuck up. That's just usually what it is. Them bigs got to be big.
Yeah. T, what do you think this series is going to go? You think they sweep or what's the verdict of the series? Okay. Cool. 5. So we all 5 or 6 games. We're all we're all going with that.
Yeah,
now,
I don't think if it goes any further than 5 or 6 the most.
Now, my favorite series. Woo! Listen,
I hate
you've been paying. Everybody's been paying attention to my post, right?
I hate you guys.
And again, I'm gonna say it again. It was the title of episode 29. James G. Buckets, and you know what the G stands for. Does not play with people's kids, and Boston Celtics is looking like a daycare center right now. Like, how do you come back? How do you let a team twice come back from 14-point deficit and a 17-point deficit?
Yeah.
How?
I hate it.
How? Are these the Celtics that you said, Matt, was going to beat Miami?
All right, I'm wrong. Y'all got
All these
you.
Celtics.
You, Tavia, and Lucas got me, and I was like, because I watched the game a little bit, and I was like, I was in and out of consciousness, but we started going into halftime. It was up like 17,
Mm-hmm.
and then I woke up, and the fucking Heat went on a 37-17 run, and just never looked the fuck back. And I'm just sitting here like, where the fuck is Jason Tatum? Kemba Walker's looking like a whole bitch. Like it was just the only one that was showing up was Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, which I told you I was like the dogs of that squad. The fucking center, I forgot his name. His name fucking slipped from my mind. But he was looking like a whole bitch. He went up for a layup, and Adebayo pretty much said, "Not today, motherfucker." That's pretty much what Adebayo said. He don't talk too much. He said, "Not today, motherfucker." They looking like whole bitches, man. It's getting me tight. I heard there was a whole big skirmish in the goddamn locker room after the game. It's well deserved because they played like Miami got their heart. And it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's shit. Because they played like how I figured they would play in the first half. But then they just nightmare on Elm Street.
I got to bring him back because the only person who could explain this, right? Earn it. Boston Celtics, earn it. The Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, earn it. Udonis Haslem. And that's really what it hinges on.
Mm-hmm.
The Miami Heat got an assistant coach on that bench who's a player. Udonis Haslem is putting some of that dog energy into Miami. And I love Udonis Haslem as a player, right? Like that man to me deserves, a gym in Miami named after him. I think the problem with the Celtics is they're a soft team, right? They are a soft team. They don't know how to play rugged, tough, down. Like if you brought the Boston Celtics to Rucker Park, they would get whooped out the park, right? Because they don't know what it is to play that hard-nosed basketball. And again, I grew up with a lot of hard-nosed defensive teams that I watched in the NBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Celtics are a very soft, very, very refined team. Listen, Bird, McHale, and all of them are looking at these Celtics like, who are you wearing our uniforms?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you not Bird, McHale, all of that.
So Paul Pierce.
Antoine Walker would have punched somebody already.
Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett is a shame.
Antoine
Paul Pierce is a shame.
Antoine Walker would have punched somebody and then jumped off the ground that much to make a three. Right?
And Paul Pierce sat in a wheelchair because his stomach hurt. Right?
And came back and dropped 20. I don't want to hear that. Came back fuck yourself.
A lot of this is Miami's got a lot of grit. They got a lot of heart. Jimmy G, Jimmy Butler is a lot like that. The old dude who sits on the block, who you think can't play, then comes around and carves you up a new one. Right?
All out.
And in my opinion, if Miami wins the NBA Finals, I'm going to say this right now, Bam Adebayo needs to be the Finals MVP.
Shoot. I'll get to my point. T, what do you think about the series so far?
I think it's a really good series. I mean, I do feel like Boston's gonna correct a course a bit. Do I see it being Miami, LA? Yes, and I called Miami, LA very early in our podcast too.
I called Miami from the beginning of the season. The people thought I was tripping.
I called Miami. About what I called.
I knew Miami. Let me tell you something. We forget that Spoelstra is a fucking NBA championship winning coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that if you want to talk about somebody has something to prove, Jimmy Butler has a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Coming out of Chicago, a lot of people starting to say that he was a bust. Yeah. And he's playing like he got that chip on the shoulder.
He definitely does.
He's playing like he remember everything LeBron did to him when he was in that Chicago Bulls uniform. That's what he's playing like. That's what he's playing.
And, I mean, look at that team, though. You got Butler, you got Crowder, you got Bam, you got Goran Dragic. Duncan Robinson is a sharpshooter. That boy, when he comes up from behind the 3-point line, just move. Just go back down the court. That's it. It's a 3. You got a lot of people forget they got Tyler. They got Iggy's on the bench. Right, they got a Finals MVP on the bench, and they got a former Celtics player, Kelly Olynyk. Right, and I think somebody in the somebody
Crowder.
mentioned it on
Jay
one of
Crowder
the
too.
Yeah, so they got a couple of former Celtics on that team, but they got a really rugged team. And think about it, Goran Dragic before he came to Miami was considered a number 1 option on his team. Right,
Yes, he was.
Jimmy Butler was a number 1 option on his team. Jay Crowder's coming into himself and finally coming into a well-rounded player. And Bam got energy for days. This team, I don't think they beat the Celtics unless the Celtics go sicko mode in the next couple of games. Apparently, reports are Gordon Hayward's supposed to come back for Game 3. I don't know if that helps or hurts them.
I don't even want him.
Yeah,
Y'all heard him.
I think. And let's not. You brought up Goran Dragic before we get to the next topic. Goran Dragic has been playing out his mind since coming back into the starting lineup. He had 25 points the last game. He had 29 the first game. Who is holding this man? Apparently nobody. Apparently nobody.
I told you Kemba can't hold that man.
Let me ask y'all a question though. Here's a funny little question.
Tyler Hero.
If it's Miami and LA in the finals,
right?
Talk about the irony if Miami denies LeBron a championship.
That's like Pat Riley saying. That's like Pat Riley saying, "Gotcha, bitch."
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You put the rings on the table next time we see you. Yeah, I took this one from LeBron. I think that's a 6-7 game series too.
Yeah.
If that happens, that's a 6 or 7 games series.
Yeah,
but do not.
The Lakers are more aggressive than the Celtics, man. The Celtics are really soft, man. Like I was really taken aback by how soft they really are playing over the past couple of, I would say,
series.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder why the Raptors couldn't beat them, because I think the Raptors are a stronger team than them. So it makes you wonder how the Raptors couldn't beat them in that series. But I think if it is Miami and LA in the finals, it's going to be a very interesting matchup because I think it's going to be fun to see Bam versus AD. It's going to be fun to see Jimmy Butler versus LeBron. I don't think Rajon Rondo can hold Dragic. I think it's going to be Dragic going off again. Right? It's going to be a question of can Kuzma outshoot someone like Duncan Robinson? And then again, you got some warriors on that bench. Imagine if Iguodala comes off that bench against the Lakers. He knows LeBron like a book, right? Imagine if guys like Udonis Haslem get some minutes. Like, do you really want a 40-year-old Udonis Haslem putting an elbow on you?
And then, like you said, you have players on the team that can not. Let's be realistic. Nobody's guarding LeBron. Nobody's shutting down LeBron. The thing is, your point is to slow him down. And even the Finals MVP that Iguodala get, LeBron still averages triple-double in that Finals.
He did.
So how much slowing down of LeBron are you going to do?
You don't. It's the Jordan rules. It's the Jordan rules. It's a new variation of the Jordan rule. Let LeBron go nut. Let LeBron go nut. My NBA, when my basketball coach used to say this all the time when we played ball. I played point guard, back in the day. My basketball coach used to say the same thing. Let their star player go off. He can't beat you by himself. Right? So let LeBron go off. Worry about shutting down AD. Worry about shutting around those shooters around him, and let LeBron have to work his tail off. Because one thing we have seen is LeBron can get fatigued, right? So go ahead. Let LeBron go nuts. Don't try to really be defensively focused on him. Let's focus on taking Anthony Davis out of the game. Let's focus on taking Kuzma out the game. Let's focus on doing what we need to do offensively, because LeBron is not going to score 100, 120 points by himself.
Right. The others and
Are
the
you guys
Lakers.
hearing reggae music in my background?
No.
All right, good.
No. You having a party back there?
Well, my neighbors, I don't understand what's going on. They might be cleaning their houses.
Well, you know what you have to do. You know what you got to do. But when we move on to our final topic. Sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
there's been a lot of chatter about people saying that Giannis didn't deserve the MVP.
Yeah, let's touch on that real quick, right?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? How do you T, I'm gonna start with you. How do you feel about it?
So I know I've been kind of rough on Giannis all podcast long, right?
Right.
But let's not change the fact that a playoff appearance doesn't negate what someone did all season. And I feel that Giannis is one of the most dominating players of the season. And I do feel like he did deserve it over some of the other people that they were kind of putting on that finalist list. If I had to give a league MVP for this year, it would have been either Luka Doncic.
Luka or who else?
I'm about to cry.
Giannis.
I'm about to cry.
Luka,
Okay.
no problem. That boy. Whew.
Yeah.
Tell you love me, don't you? You love me. That's like, because you know I've been saying that, and y'all all gave me shit when I said it. Because remember, y'all was like, most improved. I'm like, nah, man. He should have been like at least in the running for MVP.
I would say maybe best player playoffs.
We said that he should have been in the MVP category, not so much the most improved, but his numbers improved, but not like how.
I think he should have been higher than what he was. I think he was high. Yeah. I think he was. Doncic ended up fourth in MVP voting behind James Harden. I think he should have been above James Harden. I think he should have been in third place. LeBron obviously comes in second to Giannis. But here's the thing: my problem with the MVP is always it's very inconsistent on how it's voted on, right?
Yes.
Because MVP, are we talking MVP of the regular season? Are we including the playoffs? Because sometimes I've seen some guys get the MVP, and I'm just like, I don't think you really deserve the MVP. So
Steve Nash.
And okay, time out. We're gonna have a private conversation about that one because you're not gonna disrespect my boy Steve Nash. But my thing
continue because we have continue.
Yeah, my thing is this. I mean, Giannis, yes, best player of the regular season. And then I think with this year was a little weird. Like, are we going best player in the bubble? Are we going best player for the season before the bubble? Are we combining bubble and regular season? Like, what are we doing? I don't necessarily have a problem with Giannis winning it this year because I think, again, take Giannis off the Bucks. And I don't know if it was Tavia or if it was Matt that made this point. Take LeBron off the Lakers. You still got AD, and if he goes nut, they are an effective team. If you take Giannis off of the Milwaukee Bucks, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are a radically different team than they are with him on the floor. You could make the same case for Luka, but I think Dallas is still pretty okay. You could take Harden off of the Rockets, and I actually think they're a better team without Harden. So do I give Giannis?
Dan and Tony? Definitely.
Do I think Giannis deserved it? Yes, but I think going forward there needs to be a more concrete system as to how we are voting on the MVP. And honestly, when it comes to back-to-back MVPs like Giannis, there needs to be, I think, an extra layer of understanding of how do you, if you've won the MVP the previous year, how must you improve to once again be the MVP again? Because I would not be opposed, and this might be a really radical idea. I would not be opposed to the previous year's MVP being excluded from the next year's voting unless they have radically had a season radically different from the year before. Because if take LeBron, for example, tell me how LeBron James, if the MVP is the most valuable player of the season, tell me how LeBron James isn't a 10-time year after year winner of the MVP.
I said this before, and I was called what is it? A bronsexual.
You 100% are though.
Regardless, I said this before, and the most valuable player to the team, and if you look at the track record and the damage that's been done when LeBron leaves the team, Cleveland both times didn't make the playoffs when LeBron left. Hasn't made the playoffs since LeBron James was on the team.
Miami had a couple too.
Right. Miami had 2 or 3 years outside of the playoffs without LeBron, and they had aging. Wade was hurt, and Bosh had that thing happen to him. So the Lakers are a little bit different because now you have Anthony Davis sitting there.